You're running a successful consulting business, but something's not right. You're working more hours, but not seeing the proportional growth. Every decision still comes through you. Every proposal needs your touch. You know there's a better way. You're not just sure what it is. You're listening to the Paul Higgins podcast. I'm Paul, and I help consultants build businesses that don't require them to be at the center of everything. I spent 18 years at Coca-Cola, then built and sold my own consulting business. Along the way, I learned that working harder isn't the answer. Building better systems is. Each week, I sit down with consultants who's cracked the code on scalable growth and experts who support them. Real conversations and how they broke through the bottleneck and built businesses that work without them. Let's dive in. Imagine this, you're working 60 hours a week, you've racked up significant debt trying to grow your business, and you're barely paying yourself. You know you need more leads, better marketing, and a clear niche or niche. But every time you try to scale, you hit the same ceiling. Sound familiar? Hello, I'm Paul, and welcome to my podcast, episode 635. And if you're new, please reach out to me. It's just you and I today. Most consultants, whether tech and AI, think they know what's wrong with their business. They're usually looking at symptoms and not the cause. And you can't solve a business model problem with sales tactics. You can't hustle your way past the delivery bottleneck that's bleeding you dry. Today, I'm going to walk you through a real case scenario of a client who thought he had a sales problem, but it turned out he was trapped in what I call a capacity spiral. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why most scaling problems aren't actually sales problems. They're business model problems. Let me tell you about Jay. I won't use his full name. When he first came to me, he was a successful Zoho partner doing around 20 to 25 monthly revenue. And unfortunately, I'll tell you in a minute, it wasn't recurring. This all sounds good, right? But here's what the diagnostic revealed that we did one-on-one. He was working long hours, had accumulated significant business debt from marketing spend that didn't work, and we've all been there, haven't we? And he hadn't put himself on the payroll. So he thought he was making all this money, but unfortunately he wasn't. He was not even paying himself for most of the time that he was working. He knew he needed to pick a niche or a niche, get his marketing right, and productize his services. But here's the thing. Knowing what to do and knowing how to do it systematically are two completely different things. Most business owners are diagnosing their problems like this. I need more leads. I need better conversion. I need more traffic. They aren't diagnoses. They are wishes. A real diagnosis requires what I call a structured pattern recognition. You need to look at the right data points in the right order to see what's actually happening. So when Jay and I sat down for our first diagnostic session, here's what we discovered in the first 20 minutes. 85 to 90% of his revenue came from support retainers, only 10 to 15% from implementation work. His average implementation deal was around 10K, but he had substantial credit card debt from marketing investments that weren't paying off. Most consultants would look at this and say, great, we've got recurring revenue. Just get more clients. Let's crank it up. Paul, help me with marketing, help me with sales. But that's treating the symptom, not the cause. The real problem, Jay's business model couldn't scale without him working exceptionally harder. And every new obligation meant more personal delivery time. No wonder he was unconsciously sabotaging his own growth. Why would he make another sale when he was already maxed out delivering to the clients he already had? This is what I call the capacity spiral. The more success you get, the more overwhelmed you become, and the more overwhelmed you become, the more unconsciously sabotaging your own growth. It's human nature to protect yourself from danger. Here's the key insight. The problem wasn't that Jay needed to work harder. The problem was that his business model rewarded working harder instead of working smarter. Every time he got busy with clients, he stopped marketing. When he stopped marketing, leads dried up. When leads dried up, he'd panic, and then he'd lower his standards or his pricing, and he'd often take on clients that weren't the ideal fits. And poor fit clients, that's right, they require much more hand-holding, which made him busier, which meant less marketing time. I think you're starting to get the picture. This is what I call a structural trap. The business model itself creates the problem. You can't solve a structural problem with tactical solutions. You need to change the structure. So what do we do? First, we had to stop the bleeding. We lifted his prices on current work and looked at converting ad hoc projects into retainers. I also helped him refinance his debts to significantly lower interest rates, which saved him substantial money basically each month. But the real breakthrough came when we applied the first multiplier of my methodology, the positioning multiplier. Instead of being another Zoho partner, we analysed his current clients, looked for patterns, and discovered something powerful. His best results and highest standards came from working with estate attorneys. So people call them different things around the world, but it's basically people that create wills for others. So we repositioned him with a clear, big promise. Impress your clients and simplify your work with a bespoke system built for estate law. His LinkedIn now reads, or it does at the time of the recording, we constantly improve it, but more family legacies, less ops, helping estate planning attorneys streamline client management and grow their firm with an intelligent solution. Then he applied the productization multiplier. Instead of building everything from scratch, each time we developed package solutions specifically for estate law practices. This meant that he could deploy his IP immediately rather than doing bespoke builds, which improved his margins dramatically. He also hired a developer to help him get off the tools. Finally, the performance multiplier. Here's where it gets interesting. Instead of trying to do direct sales outreach, which really wasn't a natural fit for Jay, based on his hospitality background and his relationship building strength, we went wholesale instead of retail. And you've probably heard me say this before. We developed strategic partnerships with drafting partners who then referred work to him. How does this work? When estate attorneys get more efficient with Jed's systems, they need more contracts drafted. So the drafting partners then get the benefit from increased business, and the attorneys make more money and have a bigger impact. And Jed gets a steady stream of ideal clients. It's a three-way win. Jay, revenue has increased by 34%. His average deal size has doubled, and his customer lifetime value now exceeds 12 months, where he used to do those short-term projects that I spoke about before. Most importantly, he's paid off his debt and is working with clients he actually enjoys while getting great results for them. But here's what made his transformation possible, and this is where my methodology differs from other coaches. Jay didn't have to figure this out alone. First, I gave him an AI business coach that I developed specifically for consultants like Jay. This helps him stay accountable and work through challenges between our sessions. As one of my other clients said recently, because of my analytical brain, I want to see all of the content first. So give me the blueprints, tell me everything we're going to do, and then I'll use my AI coach to provide instant guidance with these. And that allowed him to keep strategic whilst getting stuff done. Second, we use AI to extract very specific actions from our group calls. Instead of walking away with vague notes, Jay gets clear prioritized tasks with deadlines and context. And you've got to believe me, I hold him accountable as much as his AI business coach does. This eliminates the "I'm not sure what to do next" problem that kills most consulting businesses. Third, I provide 12 comprehensive playbooks that cover every aspect of the multiplier method. These aren't just theory, they're practical step-by-step implementation guides. One of my clients mentioned recently that, he wanted to see the whole picture, like I mentioned before, a bird's eye view, and then he could go back into the detailed steps. But he didn't want to stay at, a conceptual level, which his last mentor had done. He actually wanted the strategy, but he also wanted to help get it done quickly. And that's exactly what these playbooks provide. And finally, I was first working with Jay one-on-one, but then we transformed to group coaching, where he gets enormous benefit from hearing other consultants' experiences and challenges. He often said that learning from the group has accelerated his progress beyond what he could have achieved alone. And that's the whole point, right? This is different from other coaches who, and it's not everyone, but a lot of them want to have a McDonald's approach. The same tactics for everyone, as one of my clients said. I've had coaches before, and usually they want me to go and do things that I just don't think are right, like cold emails, outreach, etc. And all the stuff that isn't just like, it's not for me. And it just doesn't work. And look, I know that. My approach is strategy first, tactics second. We get the strategy right, the positioning, the business model, the partnerships approach that I spoke about. Then we worry about the tactics. Because if your ideal clients aren't even on LinkedIn, for example, there's no point doing LinkedIn outreach, right? But unfortunately, I see this happen so often. So here's what you need to ask yourself. Are you treating the symptoms or solving root causes? Most scaling problems aren't sales problems, right? They look like it, but they're not. They're business model problems. You can't market your way out of a structural constraint. You can try as hard as you can, but as Jay found out, it doesn't work. You can't hustle your way past the delivery bottleneck, and you can't optimize your way around a model that doesn't work, right? You can try, but it just doesn't work. But once you fix the model, everything becomes easier. Marketing works better because you have a clear message. Sales conversations flow because you're solving real problems. And delivery scales because you're not personally doing everything. The diagnostic isn't just about finding problems. It's about finding the right problems to solve in the right order. If you're like Jay and you're working too many hours, or when he first started working with me, you're struggling with debt, knowing you need to change, but not knowing how, and you don't know how to figure it out all alone, there's a proven methodology. And like another one of my clients said that, it's all about the system and the process, right? They go hand in hand. To be honest, Jay had spent a lot of time hesitating about this, right? Another client had mentioned that all the results he was getting and he should work with me. But even after, a long time, it wasn't as obvious to him. But after the first call, he got really excited because he could see that this was going to be specific for him. And there is a systematic approach that can be customized for your specific situation. It gets them out of guilt of having debt and the guilt of not having their business where you want it to be. So, ready, set, go. First, take a honest look at your business model. Are you rewarding the right behaviors or creating your own capacity spiral? Second, stop treating symptoms and start diagnosing root causes. Is your real constraint sales, or is it something deeper in your business structure? Third, if you're ready for help and you want to avoid the years it took Jay to find the right approach, reach out to me. Let's talk about where you are now, where you want to be, and how I can help you. You can find more at paulhigginsmentoring.com. It'll be in the links in the show notes, and you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. And this podcast is exclusive for you, right? Consultants that are in AI and technology. And I love your recommendations on specific topics, right, that you want me to talk about. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, email, my website. There's plenty of options. But I'll see you next time on my solo podcast. What stood out to you from today's conversations? Look, building a consulting practice that doesn't resolve around you isn't easy, but it's possible. The consultants and the experts I interview have proven that. Every week I share insights from those conversations, practical strategies from people who've actually done it or help others do it. If you want to learn more from this experience, get my newsletter at paulhigginsmentoring.com/newsletter. Just practical stuff from consultants who's figured it all out. And if this was helpful, share it with another consultant. We're all trying to crack the same code. Thanks for listening.